Okay, we're going to do this thing. Let me set the scene for you, my friends. In my right hand, I've got a roll of duct tape. Well, I guess technically it's Gorilla Tape. It's like 4 inches thick, and it says it's 100% tough. And as much as I might like this to be the case, the truth is this episode is not sponsored by Gorilla Tape, which nonetheless is 100% tough. That's my right hand. In my left hand, or I should say attached to my left hand, I have got a forearm that is covered in Scottish Viking hair. It's a very thick pelt, and these two things are not meant to go together, but for the sake of making a point, they're about to. I am pulling off a, that's tough to tear, stretch of this incredibly sticky Gorilla Tape, and before you can stop me, and I understand, Daniel Mueller, that you're yelling, don't do it, too late, I've already done it, and I patted it down. Oh, I can feel it already. Okay, so we got a situation, and the situation is that this tape obviously needs to come off of my forearm, and it's not going to feel very good when it does. So there are probably a couple different ways that we could come at this, and I would like to ask you, David Hicks, how I should remove this. You say very, very slowly so that it doesn't pull that hard. I really like you, David, and I think you're a good person, but I also just think you're morally, completely, lethally incorrect on this point. Next up, Rachel Stewart, you get a chance. Rachel, how should I remove the tape? That is correct. As much as I might not like it, you grit your teeth and you just rip the whole thing off very quickly to get it over with. 3, 2, 1. Ha ha! Hey, that worked, and my forearm does look different now. That is how much I care about all of you. It's like that Bruno Mars song where he's like, I'd take a grenade, get stabbed for you, whatever, and the whole time it's like, I don't think anybody asked you to fall on a grenade or get stabbed or anything. This is weird and codependent. I don't like this relationship. But here, we're making a point. And the point is, sometimes you get into a situation socially where things are just evidently pointing in a direction, and you can belabor the point forever, and you can dance around the thing forever. And in doing so, all you really do is create more strain and extend that feeling of in the middleness and discomfort. Or you can do the brave social thing sometimes and just rip off the dang duct tape and let it fall out where it needs to fall out. Mercifully, likewise, that just rip it off strategy is the one that Simon Peter finally embraces in Matthew chapter 16 when Jesus is poking around about, hey, who does everybody say I am and who do you guys think that I am? The passage goes like this, Matthew 16, starting in verse 13. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, who do people say the Son of Man is? And they replied, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. Yeah, but what about you? He asked. Who do you say I am? Simon Peter answered, you're the Christ, the Son of the living God. Yes, that is exactly it. Thank you, Simon Peter, for finally coming around to what has been abundantly evident throughout the text. Now, look, I know that we've got a huge diversity of opinions and outlooks on life and the Bible and religion and everything sitting with us right here in this conversation, which is part of what I love about this community and who you all are as people, is that you don't have to hang out with people who read all the things the exact same way and live in a tiny little bubble. So I understand that there are some of you here who are like, cool. That is Simon Peter's opinion. And there are others of you here who are like, yes, it is exalting to my God and edifying to my soul to finally hear those words uttered. I've been rooting for these guys to come around. And even though I knew in the end, because I cheated ahead with spoilers and stuff, that they would come around, it's still so exciting after all of this buildup to finally hear one of them muster the courage to just rip off the Band-Aid and be like, yep, that is exactly who you are. But regardless of your background or where you're coming from or your opinions about God or the Bible or Jesus or anything, what I think is inarguable and what is an experience that we all share is that from a narrative perspective, this has been a long time coming. We've seen it coming as audience members because we got the curtain pulled back for us. It's like, did you ever see the twin movies, The Illusionist and The Prestige? They're both magic movies. Illusions, Michael. In The Prestige, what you get is that the whole thing is happening right under your nose the whole time. You watched the trick of the movie happen. You just missed it. And then when you went back, you're like, oh, okay. In The Illusionist, they show you the main illusion and you're like, okay, I saw what I just saw. It is definitely this thing. And then later they're like, nope, surprise, you were wrong. It was a giant trick. It was actually a machine. And you're like, well, yeah, but I was looking at it with my eyes. You just lied to me with the first image. And then with the second image, you told me the truth and called it a trick. That's dumb and lame. But what we're getting here is not like that. It's not storytelling sleight of hand where it's like, I don't know where this is going. I don't know who Jesus is. A lot of mysteries hanging out here. No, the way they chose to handle this is more like The Prestige, where right from the beginning, Matthew is like, hey, he's the Christ. He's the Messiah. He's the Son of God. He's descended from David. I mean, it's really evident for us, the viewers, because we get this comfortable seat and we get to see it all unfold. But what's part of the fun is watching the point of view characters, the human relatable characters, in this case, the disciples, Peter, figure it out for themselves because they're going through it in real time without the aid of the third person seat of simplicity that we get to observe everything from. So it's not just a theological payoff. It's a, yes, I was rooting for you guys. That's awesome. Character development. We're getting somewhere. But it's not just cool for that either. It's cool because the implications for the modern viewer and the modern reader have no parallel in storytelling or movies. There's no movie that I can point you to that's like fiction or storytelling and be like, well, and because in this scene that character does that and wields this sword or goes over there or does that, that means that sin and death can be defeated and life is a thing and it turns out there is purpose and meaning to this whole shebang and we can take hope in that. But here, this isn't just a story flourish. This isn't just a, wow, cool, a character I was rooting for is doing well. This isn't just a, aha, I knew it, I solved the riddle. This is a payoff with implications for anyone who reads it at any moment in history, because the text is holding it out as such that the promise that comes along with this king, this Messiah, this Christ, this Son of God, initiating this kingdom, comes with an implicit and explicit invitation to any and all to be a part of this kingdom, to become a son, a daughter, an heir, a child of this king, to live within the beautiful values of this kingdom, to experience the defeat of death and failure and our past that nips at our heels. That is what the text is holding out. Understanding that some of you who I'm talking to are like, yep, and I believe that. And others are saying, nope, I don't believe that, but I sure am glad I better understand the Bible now and I better understand what my Christian or religious in general friends believe. Hey, wherever you're at, I think we have to agree this is a really cool, really cathartic moment that has had massive implications across the world for every moment that has passed since the moment that these words were uttered and since the moment that these words were written down. Peter rips off the Band-Aid and nails the two-part answer. You are the Christ, that is the Messiah, the one that was promised from long ago, this king who was promised to David, this agent of redemption that was implicit in all of the working of God in the Old Testament, but then he goes on to get the rest of it. You're not just the Son of Man. You're not just the Son of David. You are the Son of the living God. And again, while that might be what the text is obviously holding out for you and me as readers, I mean, all the way back to Matthew chapter 3, there's a voice at Jesus' baptism as a dove descends on Jesus. And apparently God himself says, this is my son whom I love. With him I am well pleased. I mean, it's right there. It's not like Matthew is being sneaky for you and I. But for Peter to utter these words is an act of faith and bravery that maybe exceeds him stepping out of a boat in the middle of a stormy sea and believing that he is going to set foot on water and stride across the top of it. What he's doing here, what can I liken it to? I don't want to liken it to anything because it's going to make it weird, but you're smart. Picture something that you could go on Twitter right now and tweet, and it would be the end of your world. You would no longer have a job. Your friends would reject you. You would be immediately canceled and punished. And I'm not saying that it would probably be a very nice thing that you're imagining. I mean, maybe you shouldn't say whatever you're imagining right now. There are lots of really mean, awful, jerky things that you could say, but you know what it is at your given moment on the stage of history to be like, this is the phrase that I could just walk out in public and shriek on a street corner and it would be the end of me. Well, if you understand that, then you understand the risk Peter is taking, because that's pretty much the phrase that he could just walk out onto a street corner and shriek and it would be the end of him. For him to confess that someone is the Son of God, that someone is the Messiah, and that someone is someone who the religious leaders and authorities who are buddied up with the people who wield the power of the sword, to say that it is someone that those religious leaders have already roundly rejected and told everyone it's not that guy. That guy's bad. We're right. He's wrong. We're safe. He's dangerous. For Peter to ascribe that to Jesus is stepping out of the boat all over again, except the fate he would meet from the people who don't like what he just said is far harsher than the potential fate of drowning in the middle of the Sea of Galilee. This is a profound moment. The aftermath of it is also profound, and we have got a lot of unpacking to do. Also, I think I might put some sort of antibiotic ointment or cream on my arm right now, so I'm going to go do that. And also, it's important for me to at least acknowledge that all of you who were screaming at me not to slowly pull the tape off of my forearm, you were correct also. I really did appreciate the feedback. Wesley, Craig, Jake, Trevor, Tina, Noah, Sam, Hakon, Stefan, Mr. Eric Soley, Karen, Grant, Keith, Mitch, John, Shoal, Stefan, Josh, Bryce, Matthew, Scott, Dwight. All of you were right about how to remove tape, and I wanted you to get credit for that as well. But it's also really important for me to acknowledge that I heard Andrew, Nathan, David, Jessica, Austin, especially Austin, Cliff, David, Richard, Tim, and Abigail all shrieking, "Take it off slow, take it off slow." You guys were dead wrong, and I'm really hurt that you gave me that bad advice. Before we tap out, I want to say thanks to everybody who's gone over to africarenewal.org/TMBH. That link is now down in the show notes. You should have no trouble finding it. I want to say thanks to everybody who's gone and sponsored a child. What an amazing week it has been for each and every one of those kids who now has somebody looking out for them in that capacity. And one of the most common questions that people from Africa Renewal get asked when they're in different parts of Uganda is, "Hey, this is my sponsor's name. Do you know them from back in the States?" And so it's not just that you're making a huge dent in terms of meeting kids' needs over there, kids of all different kinds of backgrounds, by the way, but also like that connection is there. And I think it means a ton to them to know that somebody's going to bat for them clear over here. So thank you for that. If it's something you're still thinking about and you want to learn more about it, you can go and check out africarenewal.org/TMBH. And thanks again to Africa Renewal for doing what you do and also for letting me try to be helpful with this whole thing. I know that at least as of the beginning of yours and my conversation about this, they had a backlog of 1,000 kids in need of sponsorship. You all have already met some of that need. So that is inarguably good and just awesome. africarenewal.org/TMBH. This has been a nice time. Lots more to think about tomorrow. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Let's do this again soon.